I would describe our current situation as work in progress, obviously at a slower pace than desirable, and my discussions with FM Wang Yi today were aimed at expediting that process. The impact of the tension in the border areas on the overall relationship has been visible in the last 2 years. This is only natural since peace and tranquility in the border areas have been the foundation of stable and cooperative ties. Indeed, we have agreements that were designed explicitly to strengthen this foundation and prevent the kind of situation that we are seeing today. I was very honest in my discussions with Chinese Foreign Minister, especially in conveying our national sentiments on this issue. The frictions and tensions that arise from China's deployment since April 2020 cannot be reconciled with a normal relationship between two neighbors. Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke about China's desire for a return to normalcy, while also referring to the larger significance of our ties. I was equally forthcoming that India wants a stable and predictable relationship, but restoration of normalcy will obviously require a restoration of peace and tranquility. If we are both committed to improving our ties, then this commitment must find full expression in ongoing disengagement talks. We had an extensive exchange of views on a number of contemporary matters. I laid out India's principled approach to international relations based on respect for international law, UN Charter, and sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. Disputes should be resolved without use or threat of use of force. Nor should there be attempts to unilaterally change the status quo. Where India and China are concerned, our relationship is best served by observing the three mutuals: mutual respect, mutual sensitivity, and mutual interest. We discussed today specific regional situations. Insofar as Afghanistan is concerned, India's policy is guided by the UN Security Council Resolution 2593. On Ukraine, we discussed our respective approaches and perspectives, but agreed that diplomacy and dialogue must be the priority. We also spent some time on multilateral issues. I emphasized the need to take forward the long overdue reform of the UN system, including the Security Council. I also took up strongly the predicament of Indian students studying in China who have not been allowed to return, citing COVID restrictions. We hope that China will take a non-discriminatory approach since it involves the future of so many young people. Minister Wang Yi assured me that he would speak to the relevant authorities on his return on this matter. He also recognized the particular concerns that medical students have in this difficult situation. Also on the agenda were matters pertaining to trade and investment. We continue to press for fairer market access. So overall, I would say that our talks today added to clarity in regard to various aspects of our bilateral relations. They also provided a useful opportunity for an exchange of perspectives on international issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a paucity of time. I can see a lot of hands going up, but hold on. Ground rules, please introduce yourselves before you pose your question, as well as your organization. Let me start from this side, perhaps. Yeah, we will take a few around. And then, yeah. Microphone, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Sridhar from the Asian Age and Deccan Chronicle. My question is, so after the talks, did you get a sense that the Chinese are willing to vacate whatever land they have grabbed in the Ladakh sector in friction areas other than Pangong Tso? And what was Mr. Wang Yi's response? Are you hopeful that now the logjam will finally be broken? Thank you.
That side, please.
Minister Jaishankar, I'm Parikshit from CNBC TV 18. Wanted to ask you about the discussions on Ukraine. You said that both sides discussed each other's perspectives. Were there any similarities in how the two sides would approach the situation in the days to come?
Sir, मैं मनीष हूँ TV9 भारतवर्ष से. Sir, my question is whether you have discussed something related to Quad, and then what was his reaction?
One side. Yeah, we'll take this first.
Jaishankar, if I could ask you if the subject of a return to the status quo ante as in April 2020 came up in your talks, what would be the point at which you would think that normalcy has returned? And it seems as if your conversations have been on every part of the bilateral relationship, trade, travel, you've discussed multilateral issues, the UN Security Council reform. Would this be then a sort of return to normalcy in bilateral talks?
So should I hand over to you or take another? Okay. Thank you, sir. So I'll just close here.
I'll deal with this. And let me, in a sense, where there's an overlap of a question, answer it once. So first issue is the situation in the border areas. You know, as I said in my opening statement, we have still ongoing friction areas. We've also made a lot of progress in resolving some other friction areas, and Pangong So is notable in that regard. So essentially, our discussion today was to how to take this forward. Now, you all know that the senior military commanders have been meeting. There have been 15 rounds. In fact, Naveen here has been attending those meetings as well. Now, the point is that so long as there are very large deployments in the border areas, which are violative of the 1993 and 96 agreements, clearly the border area situation is not normal. So the main point, which again I've spelled out at some length in my statement, is we have a situation where peace and tranquility in the border areas has been disturbed. So the situation there is not normal. If the situation there is not normal, if peace and tranquility is the foundation of the basis of how we are going forward, then obviously that is also disturbed. So the answer in that sense is, if you ask me, is our relationship normal today? My answer to you is no, it is not. And it cannot be normal if the situation in the border areas is abnormal. And surely the presence of a large number of troops there in contravention of agreements is abnormality. The second issue, how hopeful am I? Well, we've had, Minister Wang Yi and myself, we've had meetings before, and there have been talks in parallel. Not only the senior military commanders, but also we've had, I think, eight meetings of the WMCC, which is the working mechanism dealing with this issue. So they have made considerable progress. I don't dispute that. In fact, I welcome that. But they haven't sorted out the issue in entirety. So our effort is today to sort out the issue in entirety and deal with the disengagement so that it then allows us to look at the de-escalation possibilities. Regarding Ukraine, I would say my most accurate characterization would be that, Minister Wang Yi presented the Chinese understanding, the Chinese view of the situation there and the developments pertaining to it. And I presented the Indian view. I think the Indian view, many of you may have heard me speak about it yesterday in Parliament as well. Obviously, I mean, what he said was his view and what I said was my view. But where we had a common element was that both of us agreed on the importance of an immediate ceasefire as well as a return to diplomacy and dialogue. Insofar as आपका जो सवाल था कि क्वाड का विषय हमारे टॉक्स में उन्होंने बात उठाई या नहीं बात नहीं उठी तो क्वाड पे कोई बातचीत नहीं हुई.
So we'll take another Akhilesh from there. On the left side.
I am Akhilesh Suman from Sansad TV. Before coming to India, Mr. Wang Yi had made a statement about Jammu and Kashmir that was very objectionable from our point of view. So did you raise this question to him that when we don't talk about Tibet and other issues inside China, why does he raise such issues? And did you raise the issue of situation in Indo-Pacific also to him?
Sir, here this side.
Sir, this is Mukesh Kaushik from Dainik Bhaskar. After 3 hours of talk with Mr. Wang, how hopeful you are that Prime Minister Modi would be able to visit Beijing for BRICS summit? And did he extend invitation for Mr. Modi to come to BRICS?
There was one more hand. That's it. Siddhant, please.
Sir, Siddhant from Beyond. My question is, was terrorism emanating from Pakistan discussed during the talks today? Also, has the Chinese side extended invite for the meeting they are hosting on Afghanistan, the foreign ministers meeting in Beijing?
And the last question. That's it. Who was it?
Maha Siddiqui from CNN News 18.
Straight behind.
Maha Siddiqui from CNN News 18. Sir, the visit was significant since you've already laid out the details for us. Why was it then not announced before he came here? And has any timeline been set for disengagement and de-escalation so that the Prime Minister can then engage at his level at the BRICS summit?
So should I? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Akhilesh, your question, did the issue of what Minister Wang Yi said at the OIC conference come up? Yes, it did. I referred to it. I explained to him why we found that statement objectionable. It was subject discussed at some length. There was a larger context as well. I conveyed that we hoped that China would follow an independent policy in respect of India and not allow its policies to be influenced by other countries and other relationships. So that was that context. Indo-Pacific, no. Again, I mean, I referred previously to the Quad question, but Indo-Pacific itself didn't come up in our discussions. Then regarding the visit, the question of invitation to the BRICS. Yes, China, Foreign Minister Wang Yi and I discussed the Chinese chairing of the BRICS. And they spoke about, obviously, about hosting a summit at which they would like, naturally, the participation of all the leaders. But that was, in response to the last question, which I think Maha Siddiqui raised. There was no timeline, there was no, in the sense, that was a discussion. There was there was a parallel but separate discussion in regard to sorting out the situation in the border areas. Regarding the Siddhant, your question on terrorism from Pakistan, it did come up in terms of my sharing with him what is an Indian view of the concerns that we have in respect of Pakistan, and of course what were some of the positions taken during the OIC meeting. On the Afghanistan meeting, which the Chinese are convening, which I believe, no, they did not. They have not invited us. I think can we? Oh yes, sorry. The question.
And with that, it's a wrap with me on this edition. But news and updates continue on the other side. Don't go anywhere.